My career path has everything to do with the civil rights movement. My mother, especially, but my parents were very involved in the civil rights movement in Portland. As you know, the women's movement, all of those movements were happening at the same time. So from the get go, it was never lost on me that I was an affirmative action hire. And I was not only an affirmative action hire, I was a twofer because I was a female and I happened to be Black. All right. Neither of those are lost on anyone. I can't survive on that. I have to be smarter than. And being smarter than, working harder than is always a theme when you've never been part of the majority that's in control, right? My story might be different from those who have always wanted to be a journalist or get into news or be a reporter. I always wanted to have a job and get an income. So when I was 16 and could do more than babysit, I ended up getting a job through a program in Portland, a city program. And this was in 1960, mid 60s. I was in high school. And it was a summer job working for a television station, KATU TV in Portland, working with their marketing PR department, going out to shopping malls and fairs and asking people to fill out a survey about their news watching. It was a job that got me in on minimum wage, $1 an hour, I think, minimum wage, to help. And it was a summer job. But I learned then that whatever job you have has people who are watching you who may have opportunities. And that led to a continuing job on their switchboard. And being there led me to a radio station, KEX Radio, which at that time was part of Golden West Broadcasters, owned by Gene Autry. And they were looking for a receptionist. And what was Connie looking for? Income. So I went to work for the radio station as a receptionist as I went into college. So my exposure to the communications and broadcasting industry started when I wanted a job to get income. And through that, I learned more about what was possible, things that I'd never even thought of, and continued to be interested enough to major in communications while I was in college at the University of Portland. So I could continue to work through college. And by the time I graduated, someone that I worked with knew someone in Seattle at Como Television, and that led to an interview, and that led to an entry-level job in the television newsroom. So I came about it through curiosity and need. And once I was in the station, I had opportunities to learn how to be a reporter. And the rest, as many people have said, is history. I was at Como TV in Seattle for 46 years and 3 months, roughly. That's from the day I walked in out of college until I retired in December of 2020. There was always competitive camaraderie. And for the most part, that worked. I learned through that. And of course, there are people in that competition that don't want any competition around. There are people that have low expectations of you because you're a female or a woman. So they're going to treat you in a way that suggests they have low expectations, which was always a challenge to me. I'll show you. I'm going to learn and plow through. But I also had a lot of people that were very helpful, that knew from their experience. I know one photographer, his name was Milan Brousseau. He was the chief photographer at Como. And having been a photographer in the military, he was exposed to people of different hues. And he helped me learn that you've got to watch your background. You know, don't let someone shoot you against this ultra high background, so you'll be a shadow. Pay attention to certain things. So he was very instrumental in making me realize that there are other people that are going to help as much as there are people that either going to try to deter you, dismiss you, or get in your way. And my parents were very supportive and proud, as was the Black community, both in Portland and more so in Seattle. Support that I never knew was there unless I heard about it or until something happened when I realized, oh, okay, I know people are proud of me. I'm involved in different organizations, but I do have support. I have that lifting up support, and I had that from my family. Um, of course, as all parents are going to do, they're going to say, you think you could have worn a different shirt on that story? I can remember sitting in the booth, and it was just him and me left. So he and I are the only ones of that party. And oh, did I have to mention that this was an older white guy? Um, Next thing I know, he's like trying to hug me and lock lips in this place. And I was talking to my husband about this and thinking about those days. I know I probably too politely backed him off, moved over, ended it, cut him off, but I wasn't rude, and I probably was in that don't hurt anybody's feelings, don't be rude, be nice, but I knew that that was there. I never said anything about it except for talking to other people about that lech. Um, but that's the only thing I can think of. That's the only real incident that I can think of. Um, and of course there are comments, and I think at those times there were so many other things going on. I just let them roll off my back. And being a person who has been female all of her life and Black all of her life, that probably was a learned behavior. There are a lot of people who will only see that Black girl. I can't pay attention to them. I can't let them control how I do my work. I'm going to do my work. I was just sponging up all I could and trying to be good enough and well aware that there were people that didn't like me because of my gender or my race or both. And I got the hate mail. I got the racist hate mail. I got all of that, but the civil rights movement did so much. And to all the young journalists out there, they need to understand that all of that work that was done and fought for can easily be undone if you sit back on your laurels and think the work has been completed, because the backlash is stronger and stronger every day, in my opinion. Back in the olden days where you have a tape recorder and you get your interview and then you go to a payphone and then you unscrew that payphone and take the alligator clips to feed your actuality, they called it, the sound, learning how to do that. So I was always in learning mode. But during that time in radio, I recall interviewing with the pack, people that were making news at that time, people from the Johnson administration during Vietnam, Ralph Nader during the consumer rights and activism, Gloria Steinem, with women's rights, and Judge Bolt, blew the world up with his fishing rights decision that affirmed the rights for Indian treaties, for the treaty fishing rights in our state, and being out with our state fisheries commission late at night with a photographer on a boat, one of their boats, and being surrounded by angry non-native fisher people who weren't happy with the decision, that were hauling salmon and throwing salmon and putting lights in our faces, and were very upset with us. And circling to make waves, and being a part of something that I was still learning. This is a big deal, and what does it mean, and how does it mean? Um, I recall that that was something that was just an interesting experience to have. The National Women's Conference in Houston, covering that and being with the delegation from Washington State, history being made.
Every week, viewers in Western Washington tuned into Como and consumer reporter Connie Thompson as she investigated all kinds of buyer bewares, from credit card balance transfers to new, cheaper diamonds.
Women love the glitter, but as you're about to see, this new simulated diamond looks so real, it can even fool the technology designed to spot a phony.
It was a niche that I could fill, that could always give people news they could use and could always be valuable to the station. The stories that I did about, it's hard to think of this now, the fact that women could not get a credit card in their own name. They had to have their husband sign with them. Those kinds of archaic rules that people were fighting, that were in place when I was first starting to get my feet wet in television news. Those are stories that I think about. I was just interested in that kind of information, that and business and how things work and what happens to your money. And it's all about money when it boils down to it, and we all can relate. I was learning something that I was sharing with them. And I think I put my heart into it in a way that you could tell, well, that's Connie. It's not somebody pretending to be a consumer reporter. The stories I didn't like to do were the stories where I'm working on something else, or I would like to work on something else, because just because I'm Black doesn't mean the only stories that I want to cover have to do with things that affect only Black people. So don't keep coming to me to find out who to talk to, who to get response from, to handle this story about a Black issue. I know that I always try to, no matter what my topic was, try to interview people of all ages and especially of all colors, and get people of colors in my interviews that happen to be talking about something that wasn't crime, that wasn't poverty, that wasn't reinforcing erroneous stereotypes about Black people. Those are the kind of battles that I would fight, but that was tiring for me. Of course, we have changed the information because we are bringing our perspectives. We're not the same old guys in the same old clubs doing the same old thinking, and we're not the same color. We're different colors. We have different experiences. They can no longer permeate the myth that this gender and this race could not do this job. And we've busted all of those myths. I mean, we're still trying to break the ceiling, but we busted the myth. Understand what your motives are and what your values are. And I'm not going to challenge them, but I'll tell you, if it's to make money, then you have to be willing to work really hard. Do you think it's going to stay like it is now and you can go and be a reporter every day? You're going to have a rude awakening. Do you think that you can go just be on TV and not have to work your own camera, feed the social media 4 or 5 times a day on deadlines, whether you're broadcast or print? You're rude awakening. So find out what the realities are versus your expectations or your perceptions. Find an ally, find more than one ally, and utilize what they know to help you, and make sure you know what your perimeters are and what your values are, so that you can tell when somebody's steering you in the wrong direction. Learn from your mistakes, own your mistakes, and don't be one of those people that blames everybody else. There are a lot of people that are successful doing that until they're not. Take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. And don't beat yourself up, because nobody's perfect. Listen. You have to be prepared to listen. Listen more than you talk. It's hard for us to do that. Be interested more than you're trying to be interesting. Don't neglect the other part of yourself that is just you having a good time and being fun and whole, because that helps you do what you're doing even better and put it in perspective. And if you're a woman, understand that everybody can see that you're a woman, but if you want to be a journalist, you see yourself as a journalist who happens to be a woman. And which one is going to get the priority when it comes down to, are you a woman or are you a journalist? As much as people will watch you make mistakes and watch you have bumps in the road and watch you fail, get demoted, get fired, whatever, even more, they're watching how you respond, how you carry yourself, how you recover. I always used to tell people, and I don't know who coined the phrase, and it may be offensive to some, but people will always say, don't let the bastards get you down. There will always be bastards, if you will, but don't let the bastards get you down, and don't be a bastard. The path that I ended up on, and the career I had, opened up so many doors for me. I gained more as a person, as a professional, as a woman in a business. I learned more about presenting myself, having courage, how to communicate. I learned not to limit my potential, because I can do things now that I just never would have dreamed of. It's given me a power that I didn't think was possible. It's taught me that for as much as our industry, by its nature, is going to tell you what's wrong, there's a lot of good, and there are a lot of good people. And so I'm somewhat surprised and appreciative when I do get good feedback, because I really want to believe that I'm helping people. And when people told me, yes, you did help, and you did make a name for yourself, and you did matter, it feels good. I'm mostly enjoying the flexibility to be able to say yes or say no, to be able to sleep in or get up early, not having to punch a clock every single day and feed the beast, if you will. Because after 46 years, I knew I was ready to let it go, and I did not define myself by that job. And now I can find out more about me, and I can play and find out how I want to define Connie after 46 years in broadcasting.